Okay, using the same data that we used for performing the analysis, one-way analysis of variance, I am going to use the data once again. Okay, but this time I assume that the data are not normally distributed, and I'm going to subject the analysis to Kruskal Wallis H, and if necessary, with pairwise comparison using Mann-Whitney U-test. So pairwise comparison using Mann-Whitney U-test is actually the so-called post hoc test for the Kruskal Wallis. And I already explained during the lecture the what we call the advantage as well as the disadvantage of using this pairwise comparison using Mann-Whitney U-test. Now I'm going to perform the analysis first without pairwise comparison. So you click Analyze, okay, and then you go to Non-Parametric Tests, Legacy Dialog, K, Independent Sample. Okay, K, Independent Sample. Now, transfer the dependent variables, the concentration of LDL and HDL into the test variables. Transfer the group of rats into grouping variable. Now define the range. So the minimum is 1, the maximum is 4 because we already label 1, 2, 3, and 4. So click continue. So make sure that you take Kruskal Wallis H. You can come up with the descriptive if you like and quartile, but again you have to come up with the median in bracket range or median plus minus interquartile range to represent your data which are not normally distributed using the non-parametric test in your write-up. Okay, so you can click continue and then click OK. Now let's look at the descriptive statistic. Okay, as I mentioned, the mean would not be as useful as in parametric test. You need to use the median value, but you have here the minimum and maximum. This would be the range that you can come up with, and then you can also calculate the interquartile range by deducting quartile 3 and quartile 1. Okay, so by looking at the test statistic, you can see that the significant value for LDL as well as HDL, they are both lesser than 0.05. It means there are significant differences among the different groups that you analyze, among the control, uricoma, temulawak, as well as simvastatin. But similar problem with ANOVA, Kruskal Wallis does not have the ability to pinpoint which one is actually significantly differing. So because of that, you have to further analyze using the pairwise comparison using Mann-Whitney U-test. Now I'm going to perform the pairwise comparison using Mann-Whitney U-test. Right, so remember that we have 4 different groups. So we have to analyze every single what we call combination of the groups. So now you go to Analyze, go to non-parametric test, legacy dialog, and you click 2 independent samples, right? So you can transfer the independent variables into the test variable list, and then the group. Look carefully this step. Okay, so define the group. So for example, I want to make the first comparison 1 versus 2. Okay, continue and then click OK. So it's not statistically significant. It's because it's 0.100, 0.100 for both the LDL and HDL. Now test another combination. Alright, so you go to legacy dialog once again, 2 independent samples. Instead of group 1 and 2, now you define group 1, 2, 3, for example. Okay, click continue and you now see it is also not significant. Alright, so comparison between control and temulawak extract, they are also not significant for both the parameters. Then you click again the non-parametric test and proceed with 2 independent samples. So you define the group again, 1 to 4, for example. Now click continue and then OK. Then you can see that for the comparison between control and simvastatin, the value are also not significant, although the LDL may appear a little bit closer to lesser than 0.05, but yet it's still above 0.05. Okay, that is 1 to 4. Now you can go to non-parametric test again, and then legacy dialog, 2 independent samples. So now you make comparison, say for example 2 and 3. Okay, click continue and then OK. Here, the statistical comparison is also demonstrating that the data are not statistically significant for comparison between Uricoma longifolia and temulawak methanolic extract. Now go again, non-parametric test, legacy dialog, 2 independent samples. You click again, define the group. Okay, instead of 2 to 3, now you get 2 to 4. Okay, 2 to 4. Continue, and then click OK. Well, also not statistically significant, right? Then you try again the another combination. 2 independent sample, 2 to 4. Now you change to 3 to 4. The last combination. Okay, click OK. So it's also not statistically significant. So the one which is statistically significant is actually okay. So you can look at the values and see the values which is closer to 0.05. Probably the one that is detected as significant is this because it's closer to 0.05. Okay, the comparison between temulawak and simvastatin for HDL, and okay, comparison between control and simvastatin for LDL. Okay, so one thing about the non-parametric test, of course, the power to make conclusion is not as great as the parametric test, but the non-parametric test is more sensitive at detecting significance than that of the parametric. So that's how you can perform Kruskal Wallis H with pairwise comparison using Mann-Whitney U-test. I'm going to share with you one or two papers that where I used this test in my paper, so you can see how I presented the data in the form of table as well as results and discussion.